Dan Morgan, a devoted father, works at a car show and leads a completely ordinary life in the suburbs of Buffalo, where he lives with his wife Jessica and their 3 sweet kids, their daughter Nina, son Kyle, and another little one named Max. But beyond this seemingly calm and average dad, there's another version who, due to his past activities, now just wants to lead a low-key life, stay out of trouble, avoid violence, and live without technology or social media. On their anniversary, Dan and Jessica went to the park to have a good time. In the midst of it all, Dan kisses Jessica, but a bunch of jerks take a selfie with the kissing moment in the background and jokingly say they'll post it on their social media. Dan confronts them and tells them to delete it, but they mockingly pour juice over his head. Dan, however, doesn't react and simply goes back home. Later, Dan and little Max are at a supermarket when someone suddenly attacks them. To our surprise, Dan handles the attacker with ease, showing us that he's a trained professional from some past life. When Dan returns home to find it empty, it dawns on us that Dan used to be a full-fledged professional hitman. He contacts his old friend and co-worker Augie, asking why he's being pursued and the reason for these attacks, only to learn they're the handiwork of his former employer, McCaffrey. His friend advises him to disappear. It finally clicks for Dan that the deliberately taken photo in the park is connected to those who are after him. He swiftly orders new passports for himself and his family, then goes to find his kids and wife to bring them along. He tells them they're going on an impromptu fun trip to Las Vegas, where they're supposed to meet his friend Augie and get some new documents. As they're leaving the city, Dan realizes they're being followed and suspects there's a tracker in their car. He keeps evading pursuit and heads to his workplace, then to a specialized car service area where he locates the tracker under his car, removes it, and smartly sticks it under his friend's sports car to send the pursuers on a wild goose chase. In the meantime, McCaffrey and his crew break into Dan's house, but can't figure out their next move, since Dan hasn't left any clues behind. Dan spends all night driving, finally making it to Iowa City. Nina begs them to stop by a university in southern Iowa so she can see her boyfriend Trevor. But upon seeing him, she discovers he's cheating and, heartbroken, returns to her father. Dan teaches her a quick martial arts move to get back at her boyfriend Trevor, sort of a symbolic payback for his betrayal. While they're touring the university, Dan notices a German guy with a briefcase who looks suspicious and is on his phone. Dan initially suspects this man might be working for McCaffrey, but quickly finds out there's another guy who actually attacks both of them and is definitely working for McCaffrey. Dan scuffles with him and takes him down in a chemistry lab before rejoining his dear family. They hit the road again, journeying on, growing closer and more intimate as a family. Finally, they arrive in Vegas, and Dan plans to disclose the truth about his past as a professional hitman over a romantic dinner. They tell the kids to stay in the suite and watch Max, but the kids don't listen and sneak out to the HyperX gaming area, since Kyle is a well-known and skilled gamer. When Dan and Jessica return to check on the kids, McCaffrey's gang finds them, but Dan takes them all out, shocking his wife. As they're heading downstairs to reach the kids, the family witnesses Dan taking out 2 more hitmen. Dan's plan to tell the truth crumbles, forcing him to reveal to his entire family that he was previously known as Sean and worked for an organization that eliminated bad guys for cash. Handing new fake IDs to his kids and spouse, Dan declares their life in Buffalo over, urging relocation for safety. The kids and family resist, unhappy with the upheaval. Jessica, believing they're not in danger, calls her friend Gwen, a travel agent, suggesting a flight home. On their private jet, they discover that Gwen is actually McCaffrey's person and Dan's bitter ex-girlfriend. Gwen hands Jessica and the kids to McCaffrey, who takes the family hostage. McCaffrey, revealed as Dan's father, threatens to kill them unless Dan rejoins his father's group of hitmen. Dan feigns compliance to send Jessica and the kids home. Jessica and the kids escape after she eliminates their guard. McCaffrey calls his forces to storm the hotel, only for Dan to outmaneuver them with a drone piloted by his son, Kyle. Jessica fights Gwen, utilizing her high school sports skills to incapacitate Gwen with a bamboo stick. Downstairs, they rush to stop McCaffrey from killing Dan. Nina distracts her grandfather, allowing Dan to knock McCaffrey out and jail him. Later, the Morgans return to their mundane Buffalo life. Dan now runs a security division, teaching clients self-defense, while Jessica coaches her old sport. In the final scene, the Morgans pile into their RV, embarking on a road trip to drop Nina at Stanford.